I grew up with a father who was not interested in that kind of thing, so I never learned. My girlfriend's father is always asking for my opinion on car trouble or for help with tasks around his house, and I do not have a clue. I just feel kind of useless. Do you just admit it or try to learn? It is a strange kind of pressure I never really considered before. Story 1. Here's the trick. It does not matter if you do not know anything. Just say that. Be willing to have a go. Your girlfriend's dad probably likes you and is trying to teach you things, especially if he does not have any sons. Just admit that you are clueless and be willing to learn. Story 2. I learned. My dad also was not into that stuff, so it was not until my later 20s that I gained an interest. I am far from a professional, but I can hold my own in basic conversation and troubleshooting. I have come to enjoy it. It is fun to tinker with things like that. However, I will admit it was the pressure of thinking I should know it that brought me to it. It was not an organic interest. Story 3. With YouTube, it is a lot easier to learn how to do things. I was not very handy but have improved a lot. However, I have limits. I have looked up repairs and thought, this is out of my comfort zone, and just called someone. Sometimes, to do a repair, you need many tools that you will only use once, and it is almost cheaper to call a handyman. Story 4. I learned that my dad would always say, I have people to do these things, about anything do-it-yourself related. My father-in-law is a carpenter and can fix anything. I asked him for advice and learned a lot. It was also a very good way of bonding with an older person. Story 5. Definitely try to learn. Can be intimidating, but the more you learn, the easier it gets to learn more. Story 6. I would just be straightforward and say, hey, I'm not really familiar with that, but I'll try to help you the best I can. Then you both can try to figure it out. Worst case, you both get stumped and go to a shop. Story 7. I wasn't very good at fixing things or understanding how they work when I was young, and then I got a job running a very busy automatic car wash where I had to fix things. The air compressor stopped working within hours on my first day, and I had 20 customers and 3 employees waiting for me to fix it. I called someone I knew would have an answer, did a quick search, learned the problem and how to fix it, and got it done. From that day forward, I realized that everything is really just nuts and bolts. Fixing things usually involves removing the broken part and putting a new one in. That process is usually just taking some screws and bolts out, maybe unplugging something, and then doing it all again in reverse order. The hardest part is identifying the problem and knowing where to find answers. Now, I only call someone when it is something I either don't have time for or know is way out of my league. With online videos and search engines, it is easy to find just about any task or repair explained for you. If you are worried, just ask if you can help. Ask what is going on. Some people struggle to explain things and treat it as a way to show off their knowledge, but others are happy to help someone learn because they were once clueless too, and someone helped them. Story 8. If there is one thing parents love, it is their child's partner being helpful. I have told girlfriends in the past that the quickest way for my mom to like them is if they help her in the kitchen. My mom is an amazing chef, even if they are just doing small things. Story 9. I have no interest in doing DIY. My dad was always doing it, to be fair to him, but I have never had any intention to learn or try my hand at anything beyond painting walls. I know nothing about cars either. I get the occasional joke from my dad, especially because the toolkit we have in the house is my wife's in pink, but that still doesn't motivate me to change. If I have car trouble, I will see a mechanic. Story 10. My dad was an expert in fixing bicycles, a good electrician, a decent carpenter, and a good physician. I am completely the opposite. I am not skilled at fixing things. I tried to learn but could not manage it. Therefore, I tried to earn enough money to hire help. Story 11. YouTube, books, and a willingness to do what I am told by the men who do know what to do. I helped a contractor friend of mine with work one day, and he said I was better than the kids he hires to help him simply because I did what I was told and followed directions. Story 12. I am a baby boomer who grew up on a farm, so I learned to do a bit of everything, but I am not excellent at anything. Things like electrical work, plumbing, carpentry, and mechanics. I can do the basics of all those, but I am not really good at any of them. My sister-in-law had a less than desirable father who never taught him much. When I help him work on something, He repeatedly says, I don't know how to do that. Or, I never learned how to do that. I always tell him, that's okay. I don't know how to bill insurance and work with accounts receivable. We don't all have to know the same things, and we don't have to know everything. I have heard the saying, the smart person isn't the one who knows everything. They just know where to find out anything they need to know. If anybody gives you a hard time about what you don't know, start asking them questions about what you do know to show them how little they know about that. Story 13. I used to admit it. I avoided most do-it-yourself projects because they often go wrong, and every time I try to find answers to my questions, I end up with more questions. You can find 20 do-it-yourself guides, each with different information and opinions, and I have no idea what is right or wrong. But my wife recently told me it really bothers her that I am not handy, so I am trying to get better. I just accept that most of my attempts will probably go wrong and make things worse before they get better. I have to try anyway. Story 14. The same way I handle not being into sports. If the topic of cars comes up, I just mention it's not something I'm interested in and go from there. Story 15. The first thing to do is not to worry about what anyone else thinks, even your dad. It only matters what you think of yourself and how you want to be. If you want to be the kind of person who can do those things, just start small and work your way up. It is easy nowadays to learn since there is a video for almost everything you want to do. Start with your house in case you make a mistake. Even if you do, it will not be the end of the world. Story 16. I don't need to deal with any expectations. I am me. I don't really care what people expect. Here I am. This is what you have to work with. Cast aside your biases and evaluate me specifically. I am not very do-it-yourself savvy. I'm not opposed to trying and learning, but I wasn't raised with that as a common practice. I can change a tire, but definitely nothing engine-related. I could watch some videos if I know the problem and solve it that way. So just be willing to learn. That is always a good virtue to have. You don't have to be good at anything, just be a person who is teachable. Overall, strangers' expectations don't weigh on me at all. I want to meet the expectations of my loved ones, of course, but they also know me and have realistic expectations based on who I am, not generalized nonsense. Story 17. I should be one of those people who can do anything. My dad was one of those people. Electrical work, plumbing, carpentry, car mechanics, he could do it all. In the 1980s, he built and rewired a whole broadcast trailer for the American Broadcasting Company to broadcast the Philadelphia Phillies games. However, his biggest fault was impatience. Every time I tried to help him and learn something, he would get impatient because I wasn't moving fast enough, did something wrong, or grabbed the wrong tool. It always turned into, I'll just do it myself. Go help your mother. So, I can change my own oil, which I don't because it's a hassle. But that's about the limit of my mechanical abilities. I never really learned any of the other skills because he never wanted to take the necessary time to teach me. Story 18. I don't know much about that, and I have been vocal about it. I had a girlfriend recently who would mention her father knowing how to do everything and how much of a man he was because of that. He was also poor financially. I didn't tell her that her father was poor, but when she said I should know how to do things like that, I asked her, why would I need to learn how to do that if I can pay someone to do it? She never liked that answer. I should add that I am not rich, and I have nothing against anyone who doesn't make a lot of money. Story 19. My father loves these kinds of things, but he never wanted to teach me anything. My only interactions with these situations were him insulting me for being unable to do things I had never done before. I would like to be able to do these things because they are part of being an independent human being. I couldn't care less about people's expectations because if you want me to do something, it means you cannot do it by yourself. At that point, you are a clown if you complain about me. Story 20. To me, the proper thing to do is own up to it. That way, you do not actually look stupid by saying something that makes no sense at all to somebody who has the knowledge. It is okay to admit when you do not know something. I think it makes a person look stronger because then you know you are not being deceived by them. Story 21. Make friends with people who provide essential services such as plumbers, electricians, and mechanics, and always have their phone numbers handy. As soon as an issue arises, immediately call a specialist in your area and pay for the service. This approach establishes you as a reliable provider and earns a great deal of respect. Story 22. There are basic skills that most people should have. They do not need their father to teach them. Search for basic skills on YouTube or ask for help from someone else to learn these skills. Story 23. Own up to it, then learn and complete the task. There are videos on YouTube that teach almost everything. You will feel great challenging yourself. I learned most of my housework from YouTube. Story 24. Don't worry. Just be honest about not knowing and be open to learning. I bet your girlfriend's father would be happy to teach you what he knows or figure it out together. Even if he isn't, learning to be handy is not as difficult as you might think, especially with the resources available now. Most of my handy and do-it-yourself skills I've learned and improved using YouTube and forums. Story 25. It is very thoughtful that your girlfriend's father wants your opinion on things. I would honestly tell him that you do not know but would like to learn, especially if you believe the relationship with your girlfriend is going to be long-term. Story 26. Even more problematic when you are an engineer. Truth be told, my Lego years helped me much more in handling an IKEA box than my university years. Story 27. All men are somewhat handy compared to women. Some men are not very interested in carpentry, cars, or similar tasks, but they are still much more useful when it comes to maintaining such things. Story 28. My husband knew nothing when we bought our first house in 2002. He quickly learned and taught himself basic plumbing, electrical work, drywall, tile work, and more. He can do most things and also knows when to call a professional. The only thing he will not do is work on our cars. He can service our all-terrain vehicles and riding mowers, but draws the line at cars. Story 29. The easiest way is to own up to things. I didn't grow up around this. If you want to learn, take the opportunity. If not, just state that this is not your skill set. Story 30. No one is born handy. They learn to be that way out of necessity. I barely knew how to do anything until I was an adult and had to. YouTube is your friend. Story 31. I just admit it. It is never really an issue. Do it yourself, I am okay, but cars, no. The only thing I am not, which I find an issue, is not following football. It can be a real conversation killer. So many guys are into it, and in a group, they can all be discussing it, but I find myself a third wheel or digging for another topic. Do it yourself, I am okay. Story 32. Depends on where that criticism is coming from. Most things can be learned online for free without any certifications. This was not the case for older generations, so I can give them a pass. If I am told that a man should be a certain way by a significant partner, they would lose all credibility and respect from me. Story 33. I have never felt that expectation. I have a good job, and what is the point of earning money if not to buy time? I am happy to pay someone who will do a better and faster job than I would repairing my own car. Story 34. You either need to be able to fix things or have the money to pay another person to fix things. This is the way. Story 35. From my own experience, I wouldn't say my dad really taught me anything. He didn't teach me how to do oil changes or brakes, nothing like that. What he did teach me was that sometimes it's easier and even cheaper to do things on your own. I was surrounded by people when I was growing up who knew what they were doing, so I would ask questions. You don't have to know this stuff instantly the minute you become an adult. Ask questions and learn. You never know. If there is a way for you to do it yourself and save some money, go for it. The only wrong thing you can do is stay ignorant and not be open to learning new things. Story 36. It's okay to admit when you do not know about something. That is what I do. Then others can either do it themselves or try to teach me. I did not really learn any of this growing up, but now I can change just about any part on a bicycle. Story 37. Not every man is handy with cars. This does not make them any less of a man. The same applies to do-it-yourself home projects. I am sure you make up for it with knowledge and talent in other areas of your life. Do not worry about it. Story 38. Just be like, oh, I was never really shown that stuff. Take that as an opportunity to bond with your partner's dad. It is always useful to learn. I am not exactly handy with cars either, but my friend is a mechanic. I have slowly been asking him to show me different things about the car, like how to change my oil and oil filter. It is cheap and easy to change your oil. While it is usually not that expensive from a mechanic, it gives you peace of mind knowing that you can do it anytime you want. You do not need to make an appointment. Story 39. Best 2 words for a situation like this. Teach me. It always pays in life to be a little more knowledgeable about things outside of your specific fields of interest or abilities. Story 40. I work in the auto parts business and have absolutely zero interest in learning to fix a car, especially modern cars that are much more complex than my grandfather's 1972 small block Chevrolet. I would not worry about it. I do not know where the expectation that men need to be handy came from, but it is not true. Story 41. Until about a year ago, I didn't know anything. I'm in my mid-40s. We needed some work done on the apartment, simple tasks like painting and a bit of plastering to fix a hole or crack. I didn't want to pay anyone, so I watched some videos on YouTube and became more confident. Painting went well, as did the small plastering job. I replaced the shower in the bathroom yesterday, something I would have never dreamed of doing a year ago. Buy some decent tools and give it a go. The worst case is that you'll have to pay someone to come out, but you would have done that anyway. Story 42. I'm not skilled with my hands, but I don't pretend to be handy, and I'm certainly not embarrassed by it. The way I look at it, I have plenty of qualities and skills that balance it out. Can I install a new window pane after my kids decided to play football in their bedroom after I told them, "You better stop before you break a window"? No. But I can prepare a gourmet meal in the kitchen after my work-from-home shift while my window repair person is fixing it. Story 43. I'm the youngest. My father and older brothers took care of most of those things, so I ended up being a bit useless in that regard. Now, I no longer live with them, so I have to do that more often. When it comes to fixing things, many tasks are a bit intuitive. By taking it apart, you can probably figure out what is wrong. In the worst-case scenario, you do not fix it and end up throwing it away, which is what you would have done in the first place without trying. For some tasks, you can look them up on YouTube. There are many tutorials available. When it comes to something you have no idea about and that could be dangerous or have serious repercussions if done incorrectly, it is okay to hire a professional. Story 44. Zero shame. My social skills are excellent, so I get friends, stepdad, and others to help me with tasks. People enjoy doing favors for others, especially if you buy them dinner or a pint or two afterward. Story 45. Easy. If it is simple, I look it up online and ask friends or people at the hardware store. If it is not simple, I shop around and hire someone to do it. I grew up around many blue-collar workers. Part of why I became an attorney is so I would not have to do what they did. I am not ashamed that someone who does what I do does not know how to do moderately difficult plumbing, electrical work, or roofing. Story 46. I fix things. My dad fixed things. I wouldn't say that he taught me how to fix things because it really doesn't work that way. You don't learn from specific models like a Jeep Compass or a Toyota Corolla. You learn how to approach fixing things. Mostly, what I learned from Dad is that things can be fixed, you just have to figure out how. Well, mostly you have to learn how things work so you can figure out what is wrong with them. Then you fix that. Story 47. If someone expects me to be handy with things like do-it-yourself projects or cars, that is on them. Not knowing how to do something has not stopped me from learning. Maybe one day I will have my garage and the car I want to restore, and I can use online resources for what I need. I can do anything. The question is whether it is worth it. Story 48. I'm on the opposite side of this. I'm a master shipwright and can pretty much make, build, or fix anything. One of my daughters is married to a man who has zero manual skills, but I don't hold it against him. I have no problem helping him with anything, but I try to teach him by making him do it himself. I talk him through every step. Took a while, but now he has the confidence to at least try on his own before calling me for help. Don't be embarrassed to honestly say, I don't know how to do that. Not everyone is exposed to those skills when they're young, and sometimes people are exposed but don't develop the skills to do it themselves. Everyone is different. If your girlfriend's dad has a problem with it, be aware that the problem is his, not yours. Story 49. I took a 9th grade automotive repair class in high school. I know the basic components and how they are supposed to work. I do not know how to actually work on cars. I just know enough to detect false information at the repair shop. Engine flush, no thanks. Story 50. Well, I went to college so I would not have to learn how to do that. I was never good with my hands growing up. My brother always was and still is at age 80. Luckily, my wife is the handyman, although she went to college too. I usually just say I have a Doctor of Philosophy degree, 4 master's degrees, and 4 bachelor's degrees in astrophysics and geophysics, which is true. Story 51. As a fairly handy person, let me say there is no shame in not knowing. Most of what I know is due to good fortune. I grew up poor, with family that had to fix things because they could not afford to pay someone to do it. Dad built houses, Grandpa was a mechanic and medic in the military, a neighbor hunted and took me along sometimes. Another neighbor restored old cars. A third neighbor made furniture. In high school, I learned how to build computers. Today, if there is something a man is supposed to do, I can probably do it with some level of competence. But there is still a lot I do not know. I work with people who have been doing my job as long as I have been alive. Every few months, I come across a job, see something I have never worked on, call them for advice, and 9 times out of 10 their first response is, "Hold on, let me get the sheet." People who have been working in a very specific field for decades, and they still have the honesty to admit they do not know. It is not knowing that makes you not a man. It is not wanting to learn. Story 52. I can't do much more than the bare basics. Jump-starting cars, changing tires, changing headlight bulbs, and so on. I did an oil change once, and it was difficult, so I don't count that among my car skills. That has never been a problem for me. I've never experienced any expectations from others that I should be able to fix car issues simply because I am a man. You are not less of a man just because you are not an expert on cars. There are probably things you know that your girlfriend's father does not. Different people are experts at different things. Story 53. Older dad type here. I am a project coordinator, lean manufacturing expert, data and information technology professional, and homeowner. I am the person people call when they have problems or need advice. Not knowing something is not an issue. Just be upfront about it. I have no problem helping someone with something they do not know about. Honesty and humility will earn more respect than trying to deceive others. Own up to it, learn, and progress. You will eventually be the person people call. It is best to learn when there is no expectation, rather than pretending to know something and later being found out. Story 54. 2 ways. Be a high-value person so that whether or not you are handy does not really matter. Own and control conversations where an unwarranted expectation of handiness can be deflected. Accept that this is just a dumb factor of human psychology and you will take some losses here and there. For the first point, men make do-it-yourself projects a de facto identity because it demonstrates capability, the ability to own and solve problems, and be of service to people you love. Those traits are basically non-negotiable. You do not have to be handy, but you do have to demonstrate those traits in sufficient amounts so it is not valid to hold you responsible for not being handy. You have to proactively and consistently demonstrate enough of those values to the degree that your loved ones no longer require handiness as a metric. The do-it-yourself. Guys are lucky in that there is no expectation of forethought or proactiveness. They just wait around, something breaks, they fix it. I am really good at my job and make great money. I actively do preventative things and call them out as such. I hire professionals, or put systems and structures in place that reduce the number of incidents I have to respond to. I make connections and ensure we have the right network so that things will be taken care of. If problems arise, I still own solving them, just not with my hands. For the second point, I absolutely loathe any do-it-yourself work. It is a visceral reaction that practically takes conscious control away from me and turns me into a hateful, miserable person. So I picked a level of do-it-yourself tasks I am willing to accept as my limit and I do those. Then I proactively own not doing anything above that. If my wife wants me to do something, I say she knows we have a professional for that. If she wants to try, she has a day, and if not, I will call the professional. When people talk about fixing cars, I find opportunities to steer the conversation away to something less boring. More likely, they are just boring, so I find another conversation. If my father-in-law wants me to fix something, I remind him he derives value from that, and I derive value from getting others to fix my things, so let us make it a win-win and he fixes it. The actual trick is not just responding to these situations but recognizing them as or before they arise and getting ahead of them. Story 55. I try to understand the problem and talk confidently to the professional who will fix it. If it is a non-professional, say, "You do not know, but so far this is what you understand," and end with, "To the best of my limited knowledge." Story 56. Cannot feel guilty if you are unable or not suited for it. Call a handyman, contractor, or ask a friend. Story 57. Just learn the basics like changing a tire, checking and changing oil, plugging a puncture, and checking and adding fluids. Changing brake pads if you are feeling confident. These skills are very easy to learn from online videos and will cover approximately 90% of automotive issues you may encounter. Knowing how to change and plug a tire has helped me out of difficult situations several times over the years. Story 58. I love cars but only understand them in theory. Google and I are good friends. Unfortunately, the space to work on my car does not exist due to tight city living. However, I make up for it by being very skilled with computers. My father-in-law looks forward to my visits. He has 3 sons-in-law, and I am proud to say I am the most fun and his favorite. Bribing him with cigars and Japanese whiskey helps too. As for house projects, he used to be a contractor, so like father, like daughter, I have it made relaxing in the shade. Story 59. I have friends who are very handy. I am halfway there. I can fix stuff around the house and do some minor car repairs, but nothing major. I also have friends who know nothing and will hire a professional to change a light bulb. So, don't stress, just be yourself. I always ask myself, is this worth my time to do it myself? Can I use this time to spend more time with my sons or to make more money? If yes, then I hire a professional to do the work. If not, I do it myself. YouTube is a great place to watch and learn. Story 60. You can do both. Own up to it immediately while also trying to learn going forward. I do not get bent out of shape by the expectation of what I should know. I missed out on learning many of those manly tasks because I grew up without a male figure during the years when I would have learned those things. It is never too late to change course on that. Story 61. It's not rocket science. I'm in my 40s. When I was around 35, I had to change a tire for the first time. No clue how that happened. I had trucks with mud tires growing up and beat them to hell. But anytime I ever grabbed a nail, I always managed to get to the service station without the tire going all the way flat. So there I was, about 35, with no idea how to change a tire. I searched online and found a video of a guy with my same exact car who walked me through the process. That's all most do-it-yourself stuff is. You just need someone to show you how to do it. Beyond that, it's about having the right tools and making sure you have a friend to help, or at the very least, sit around and be ready to call emergency services if things go wrong. Since I changed that one tire, I have probably changed a dozen. I have a big bottle jack in my truck, a good breaker bar, gloves, hazard lights, the works. Once I had the knowledge, I was more than happy to volunteer to help others who don't know what to do when their tire goes flat. So my advice? Ask your girlfriend's dad to teach you. Say, "Hey, my dad wasn't handy like you are. Could you teach me how to fix this faucet, change the ceiling fan, or fix the steps to a deck?" All you have to do is ask. Most men love to spread some knowledge and, in return, your girlfriend's father would gain a helper. Someone he can call when he has to dig up a stump, spread mulch, cut down a tree, and so on. Story 62. I learned minor house repair skills because it was helpful, but in general, I accept that it is something I do not know much about and have no interest in learning. There are many things I am not good at or experienced with. It does not bother me. I live in a city. If my car has trouble, I take it to a mechanic. If I need house maintenance done, I hire a professional. I would much rather spend the money on someone to do it much faster and better than I would, and not have to spend the time and energy trying to do it myself. If people ask me for advice on things I do not know about, I simply say I do not know. Story 63. Same. Dad never taught me anything besides how to use the lawn mower, so he did not have to do it himself. I just say I am not familiar with it right now, but I can see if I can research and figure it out. 9 out of 10 projects I am researching and watching YouTube videos. I cannot imagine what I would do back in the day. I guess they just kept asking around or bugging friends if they knew anything. Story 64. I am very handy with car maintenance because my dad made me help with the family cars every few months. However, since I moved out, I have refused to help with anything except changing a wheel. I did not even change my own oil. I dislike working on cars. It is not a problem anymore since I sold my car when I moved to my current city. To answer the question, I simply tell them I am not doing it. Maintenance costs are part of owning a car, so if you cannot afford the maintenance, you cannot actually afford the car. I am happy to do any do-it-yourself projects with other things, and I even enjoy it. Just no cars. Story 65. If you ask for my help and I start working on it, the only decision-making power you have is in appearance and taste. I cannot tell you how many power panels, drywall mistakes, and remodels I have helped with, only to have both friends and family keep chiming in with what they think is right or what is cheaper. Family and friends, I personally keep the code books in my truck. These are rules that are written in blood, and that is the standard I abide by. Story 66. I just try to learn as needed. You can find a video for almost everything. If I am really in doubt or do not know where to start, I call my engineer friends. They can get me from clueless to knowledgeable in about 10 minutes. Story 67. YouTube and Google, my friend. I grew up without a dad and have still completed projects like installing a brand new toilet with a P-trap and bidet. This was much harder than I thought, especially since the old toilet was literally just cemented to a hole in the ground. Story 68. Just start doing it. You will be inexperienced at first, but YouTube is your friend. After a few attempts, you will get the hang of it and things will come together more easily and break less as you begin to see how everything fits together. Do not worry about any social expectations. Those are unimportant. Everyone walks their own path. Story 69. My friend. I've never had a father. The closest I had was a stepfather who wouldn't even trust me with an electric toothbrush. There was no reason for this. He would kick me out of the house for eating breakfast. I haven't even had male role models in my life. My family is all women except for one uncle who is too scared to try. It's not shameful to not know how to do something. It's more respectable to admit it. What is truly honorable and admirable is the ability to adapt and learn. As men, we have an amazing ability to learn new physical skills quickly. It's hardwired into our brains. This is how we lived for thousands of years. Watch, listen, learn. The shameful thing is to admit defeat every time you don't know. The least you can do is try and see if you can figure it out. This is what I've learned over the years. Although I'm no professional, I can do enough to get by. Despite little experience with cars, home improvements, and landscaping, I know that with a couple of hours watching videos, a few hours of patience, and some new swear words, I can figure it out. So can you. The internet is a wonderful tool if you use it right. Now get out there, learn, live, and become a savage. Story 70. Yes, own up to it. Take initiative and look into how to fix problems he asks about on YouTube. You will appreciate it, and your girlfriend will probably like you even more. My girlfriend was telling me the other day that she loves that I am handy with things. Apparently, her hairdresser told her the same when they spoke about men being able to fix stuff. It is considered manly according to some women. Story 71. Working on basic tasks like oil changes, transmission drain and fill, differential fluid, complete brake rotors and pads, sway bars and end links, spark plugs, and so on are quite easy for almost anyone to learn. I honestly just watched instructional videos and made sure I had the right tools. Story 72. I am very good at do-it-yourself projects for many things, just not cars. I have never needed to be because I usually walk to places. I am willing to admit that openly, and when I tell people, they usually understand and do not try to impose knowledge on me that I will not need personally. Story 73. My wife has never cared that I am not handy. When I think something is simple enough and learn it, great. She likes that. When I admit I cannot do something and we pay for someone to do it right, she likes that too. We have 2 kids and do not need either of us messing something up. Plus, we can afford the help, and it gives us more time with our family. Story 74. My dad was handy but wasn't patient about teaching, and I showed little interest because I was a nerd. The only time I feel awkward is when dealing with a contractor or handyman and I think, this is something I shouldn't need to call someone for. I have owned a house for 31 years and have taught myself a lot with the help of YouTube and Chat Generative Pre-trained Transformer. I can fix many basic things now, like replacing an outdoor hose faucet a couple of weeks ago, but I still feel ignorant about many tasks. I usually deflect when I feel awkward. For example, I can build my own computer from parts but can't fix a sticking door. Story 75. I do not care, that is how I deal with it. Not one good reason. Yes, I could probably learn to fix this, that, or the other thing if I really committed to it, but I do not want to. I can troubleshoot basic issues like battery problems by using some common knowledge, but I am not fixing anything. Story 76. If I wanted to do whatever, I would be doing that for a living instead of what I do. I never had anyone expect me to do things like that, though. Story 77. Just say you don't. I always push back on the idea that I should know everything. What is far more valuable is being open to learning new things. For instance, as a man, I am not expected to be able to cook. However, I love cooking. If I needed to do car repairs, I would try my best to learn so I could fix my car or get someone who knows what to do. Story 78. Easy. Next time he brings up something you have no idea about, tell him, honestly, I've got no clue but am definitely interested in learning if you don't mind showing me. My dad was a contractor, so I had that covered but didn't know anything about cars and said that to my first girlfriend's dad. That man made it his mission to teach me everything. A closed mouth won't get fed. Story 79. I am not very good at that. If you want me to fix your computer, I will not do that either. I could, but I do not want to. Story 80. Own up to it and learn. There is nothing wrong with not knowing everything, but it is always good to learn new skills. Most do-it-yourself fathers would be happy to teach someone. My question is, how do men who are not handy handle the cost of paying people to do work for them? I make decent money, but the thought of paying thousands of dollars to a mechanic or contractor for anything but the most specialized work is baffling to me. Story 81. It is fairly simple. If you have a handy woman, you should be handy too. If you do not have a handy woman, you must be handy. Everyone starts somewhere. Learn and try doing things on your own or with friends and family every chance you get. It is more about developing a mindset for problem solving with physical means. 99% of people do not know the actual solution to a problem until they try to find it. Doing things on your own saves money, feels rewarding, and makes you more confident in the future. You can still admit that you are learning. In my experience, do something once and do okay, and next time you can aim for great and make it feel like second nature. Story 82. Be humble and try to learn. My now wife's father has taught me a lot about home repair and building things. Even if he does not know much, sometimes it is just a matter of watching videos online and then trying it yourself. Every skilled person you know had their first project at some point. Story 83. When my child is worried about doing something, I assure him he can. Even if he has never tried it before, he just needs to get started. When he is stuck, he asks for help. With help, he will be able to do it. Perhaps he can do it by himself next time. Story 84. I grew up in a similar way. My dad is not handy, but now I have several friends who are, so if I have questions, I ask them and research it on YouTube. If it is something big, I hire my friends to come and do it, and I help watch and learn so that next time I have a better understanding. My friends call me for cooking advice or if they want something special that I make. We have traded services for food a few times. Story 85. I'm good at some things and less good at others. I'm a great gardener, cook, and parent. I'm also good at my job. I'm a terrible car mechanic because I don't like cars, but I can strip and build a bicycle or brush cutter. I can paint a room well but cannot wallpaper. I cannot set up a whole outdoor irrigation system over acres of land, and I would not trust myself to plumb a bathroom. Authenticity is key. A person must know their limitations. Story 86. My dad taught me not to dig ditches and to study hard. Now he complains that I paid someone else to do a task. When I finally had enough, I showed him my hourly rate as an information technology contractor. If it costs me the same or less per hour to pay a professional to do a specialized job, then it is in my best interest, because I do not get paid to take time off. Story 87. I grew up alienated from my father, but once I became an adult, I started spending time with him. I would go to him with any car trouble. At first, he just fixed things for me and chatted while I watched. Over time, he began advising me on what to do, and I started doing the repairs myself. It sounds like this man is trying to connect with you. Some men just have limited ways of expressing that connection. Story 88. You pick it up over time, especially when you own property. That is when you start fixing things and learning a lot. Story 89. What kind of question is that? What are these expectations? And what are the expectations from women? For the record, I am very handy. Story 90. YouTube is your friend with all home and auto do-it-yourself projects. Invest some time, watch 8 to 10 videos, and get a sense of the top 3 that seem the most helpful by checking the comments. Then keep coming back to the videos if you get stuck at some points. The videos are also helpful to determine if this is something the average person can tackle or if it is too far beyond you or requires so many specialized tools that you should just hire someone. Story 91. Not everyone cares about fixing things, especially if you make a lot of money in your career. When I was younger and didn't make much money, I fixed just about everything. Now, I make plenty, and I only fix things if it would be very expensive for someone else to do it for me. Maybe your girlfriend's dad doesn't make big money and has always had to fix things. If your dad made big money and never had to fix anything, then lucky you. Just tell your girlfriend's dad that you know how to make a lot of money your dad taught you so that fixing things can be outsourced. Lucky you. In all my years, the only people I have met who don't fix anything or have to fix anything are those from high-income backgrounds. My sister, for example, is a doctor. She doesn't fix anything. She just calls someone and they fix it for her and she pays whatever it costs to fix things. Period. Story 92. Take it as an offer. Tell him you do not have a clue, but you would be willing to work on it with him. I had a roommate who was very handy. I helped with the most manual parts like moving broken concrete or lifting and holding a new window in place, and took on tasks that he guided me through. I learned a lot. Story 93. My father is handy and was always willing to teach me a thing or two. In my case, I was just lazy as a kid, not interested in do-it-yourself projects. As I have gotten older, relying on others became harder, and if I wanted to get something done quickly, the fastest way was to do it myself. So I started using search engines and tried doing all kinds of things. Last year, I renovated the house my girlfriend and I are now living in. I did many tasks like plastering, plumbing, laying floors, and installing electrical sockets. On a side note, I started building my own personal computers. It's all a matter of recognizing the issue and then just starting to improve. You will find out you can do more than you think. Good luck. Story 94. I am 21 trying to get into cars because they are cool. As for household stuff, I do not know how to fix plumbing or anything, but I am pretty handy with tools, so I am halfway there, I guess. I do not think every man needs to be into cars, but I think it is a good idea for homeowners to be able to make simple repairs at home, so I will learn one day. If you own something, it is a good idea to know how it works, at least enough to keep it in good shape. If you own a car, you do not need to know how to fix it, but you should know enough to keep it in good condition. Story 95. I don't set that expectation, and the same goes for you. I never really learned do-it-yourself, but it seems I have a knack for it. Lately, I have been working on my car and things around the house. I like it because it's a puzzle for me. That said, I still value convenience highly, so if I'm not up for it, I am gladly okay with hiring an expert to do it. Story 96. You don't have to know it. I couldn't care less about the expectations people have for me. That said, I learned, but only because I wanted to. Mostly self-taught before YouTube existed. You can learn anything you want on YouTube. I think it's important to know how to do some things for yourself and for others. Basic maintenance is one. Not because it is manly, which is made-up nonsense, but so that you can be an active participant in managing your life. Story 97. I am a lifelong handy person. I was lucky to have a handy father who was a great teacher. However, I still ask questions to this day to my colleagues. It is never too late to learn these skills. Most handy people, including myself, love to help and collaborate with others. Just be honest and say you do not know much about this, but you would love to learn. Story 98. Next time, tell him you do not know much. Suggest watching a few YouTube videos together for whatever project he has in mind. It is a good bonding experience, and you will learn something. Often, all you need on a project is a simple instruction like hold this here or help me move this. Story 99. Just use YouTube and learn as you go. Start with small, easy tasks. Change your oil, replace batteries, and do similar jobs. Fix small holes like screw holes in walls, replace outlets, and repair a leaky toilet. You will learn to use basic tools and gain a baseline understanding of how things work. Even if you stop there, that will cover most of what you need to know. If you want to continue learning, you can easily build on that foundation. Story 100. I am in my 50s and the only things I know how to do are change a battery, tires, and add wiper fluid. I guess I know how to check and add oil, but beyond that, I feel worthless. As far as do-it-yourself projects go, there is no chance. I never learned, and I do not care to. My dad is good with his hands, as is my brother, but I never had an interest. Story 101. I've bought a repair manual for a few vehicles I have owned so I can make simple diagnosis and repairs. If you have basic tools, including a good socket set, it is not difficult. I had an older motorbike where I could access everything and do maintenance such as changing oil, filters, and seals if needed. It is great to save money and become more self-reliant. I always double-checked my work to ensure nothing unexpected would happen later. Story 102. Just be yourself. It really depends on what you like to do and your level of interest. When I was younger, I learned a few things out of financial necessity, but I did not really enjoy working on cars. Now that I am older and have money, I just take it to the mechanic. At a minimum, learn about your car and the basic things about how it runs and brakes. Story 103. Single mother, city. I hadn't seen a tool before my bike broke, so I had to fix it. Same with personal computer back when Battlefield 1942 was coming out, and by God, I was going to play that no matter how hard I had to hammer parts into my old Dell. I ended up being handy because I had to. I won't claim to be the best, but I can figure most things out given time and information. Whether this is a real-life education, a maintenance manual, or a YouTube video doesn't really matter. The hardest part is always getting over the fear of messing it up, but usually that's handled by, well, it's broken now anyway. Still, I refuse to do plumbing, electricity, or maintenance on the daily driver. I can mess up my project car, but not the car that brings in money for that project car. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.